In 2007, the We Believe Warriors pulled off one of the most shocking upsets in NBA history when they defeated the 67-win Mavs in the first round. Going into the playoffs, the Warriors had barely made the playoffs by winning only 42 games, but dominated the Mavs throughout that first round, winning by an average of 15 points. So, why did the Mavs have so much trouble in this series? Coming into the series, the Mavericks looked unstoppable. After a tough loss in the 2006 finals, they came back with a vengeance by earning the best record in the NBA, coupled with Dirk Nowitzki winning his first MVP. However, while they only lost 15 games that season, 3 of those came to the Golden State Warriors. Part of the reason they were such a tough matchup was because of their head coach Don Nelson. Before coaching the Warriors, Don Nelson had been with the Mavericks for the last 9 years. He had handpicked Dirk Nowitzki in the 1997 draft and had watched him develop into an emerging star. This meant that he was really familiar with Dirk's game and knew his weaknesses, which gave Golden State an immense advantage that other teams didn't have. One of the swinging factors in the series was the clash between the Mavs' size compared to the speed of the Warriors. Because Nelson preached a fast-paced offense, he was more than okay with playing small ball. But because of that, one of the biggest challenges was figuring out how to defend Dirk in an effective manner. The Mavs' offense is centered around Dirk being in the high post, and while he was the MVP, Nelson's defense revealed a few significant weaknesses in Dirk's game. The first thing the Warriors anticipated was Dirk's spin. Yes, Dirk technically had a size advantage, but they would pressure him up high, and then the help defender would time up his help on the spin, and at this time, he was really caught off guard. Even with Baron Davis on Dirk, he pressures him up high to force him to put it on the floor. Matt Barnes times up his help, so Dirk spins into a double team, and now he's got to make a rush pass out that gets deflected. On the very next possession, we see these roles reversed. Barnes forces Dirk to put it on the floor, and Baron Davis comes to disrupt his dribble. That forces a quick pass, and that's a great contest on the three-point shot. Essentially, by forcing him to dribble under pressure, this helped nullify any size advantage that Dirk had in the first place, and at this time, he wasn't comfortable reading the defense to his advantage. Without the spin as a weapon, he often drove straight, which made it even easier to use double teams against him. And in need of trying to make a quick move, he rushed on a lot of these possessions, and as a result, never got into a balanced position on these shots. In fairness to Dirk, the Mavs didn't do a good job trying to get him easy looks, and part of that problem was due to the lack of a point guard. While Devin Harris was a good starting point guard, they didn't have anyone else that could really attack the basket. This meant that the offense tended to run really slowly, with passes being made around the perimeter, so even when the Warriors had multiple defenders surrounding Dirk, Dallas didn't really know how to take advantage of that. The lack of a point guard was then exacerbated by Don Nelson throwing a ton of zone against them. What this did was force Dallas to make quick passes, and it helped leverage the Warriors' speed on these rotations. These matchup zones look similar to what you might see today, where each guy is not only guarding their area, but also rotating based on where the ball is going. And because Dallas didn't threaten the paint as much, the Warriors' defense wasn't put in rotation, and they could contest their outside shots. What Dallas really needed was a forward or big man that could occupy the middle and be a passing hub. But besides Dirk, who was primarily a scorer at that time, their bigs were Desanya Dop and Eric Dampier, both guys who are not offensive threats, so they spent a lot of their time screening for other guys instead. These zones changed throughout the series, initially starting from a 2-3 that then molded into a 1-2-2 in Game 4, and Nelson threw the final boss in Game 6, a 3-2 matchup zone that ended up clinching them the series. With the Warriors' speed neutralizing the Mavericks' offense, they knew that they had accomplished the hard part, because the Warriors' offense was structured to give Dallas a lot of problems. Because the Warriors often had 4 shooters on the court, their spacing gave Dirk a lot of trouble as he could not keep up with their guards in the half court. While mismatch hunting wasn't super intentional at this time, Nowitzki was stuck having to guard either Jason Richardson or Steven Jackson for a lot of that series. After getting beat off the dribble a few times, he then started to sag back as the series progressed, which allowed the Warriors to really pick their poison, pulling up comfortably into a shot or use their speed to get to the rim. The guy that had absolutely killed this series was Baron Davis. With a center that can shoot in Al Harrington, that allowed them to space the floor and have Davis go make plays. And at this time, the Mavs were just not used to defending this. When Davis is on the wing, Dirk is sitting in the paint, but he's worried about Al Harrington up top. So Davis hesitates and Dirk leaves the paint. That then opens up the driving lane, and that corner defender is way too late to help. Dallas also didn't have the defenders to deal with Davis's shiftiness. While he was certainly quick, he often changed pace to keep the defense dancing. On this pick and roll, Davis moves left, but then immediately crosses back to his right. So now the low man defender has to react to the dribble penetration, and that creates a wide open three. What was probably the most confusing about the series was that the Mavericks never sent enough help in time. On a lot of these clips, Davis would get into the paint before he ever saw another defender. So by the time another defender came, Davis already knew where that next pass needed to be. Unlike Dirk, who always had to guess if and where the help defense was coming, Dallas never did enough to keep Baron Davis guessing. And as the series progressed, their perimeter defenders didn't feel confident pressuring Davis up top because they were left on an island. So they decided to back up to play the drive, and that allowed Davis to pull up into easy jumpers. Because of this, Davis ended up averaging 25 points on 54% shooting and a blistering 45% from the three-point line. While those numbers were really good, it didn't even capture all the momentum-changing plays that he made. We've mentioned at least 3 to 4 advantages that the Warriors already had, but the Mavericks were still able to keep each game at least within striking distance. But every time Dallas made a run or got close, Davis would step up and make the right plays at the right time. This included a half-court shot at the end of the second quarter in Game 4, when the Mavs had just gone on a run to get back in the game. Down the stretch, the Warriors knew they could always go to Davis to help close out games, especially with the Mavericks desperately looking for answers. And in the series, he never failed to disappoint, as he continued to make the right plays to help the Warriors pull off maybe the most improbable upset in NBA history. At this time, a lot of people believed that the Warriors were just a bad matchup that the Mavs never figured out. And while I believe that the Warriors did have some advantages, it was clear that this 67-win Mavs team was just not as good as their record showed. Dirk Nowitzki still needed to make more strides to become a more complete offensive player, and the Mavericks roster was flawed. While they had good shooters and scorers, they didn't have enough guys that could run an offense and create dribble penetration. After a disappointing 2008 season, the Mavericks fired Avery Johnson and brought in Rick Carlisle to try and transform their offense. At the same time, the Mavericks revamped their roster while Dirk was fine-tuning his game. By the 2011 season, they made sure to get 2 good point guards in Jason Kidd and JJ Barea, and in addition, they emphasized defense with Sean Marion and Tyson Chandler, while still maintaining the shooters with Jason Terry and Peja Stojakovic. Ironically, it was the 2011 team that pulled off an incredible upset of their own, stunning the Miami Heat in the finals by slowing down LeBron James to win their first and only title in franchise history. Dirk Nowitzki won Finals MVP that season, capping off one of the most impressive title runs in NBA history. So while he was on the losing end of the biggest upset ever, it was this series that helped him become the complete player in 2011 that helped him cement his legacy as an all-time great. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If so, please feel free to like and subscribe. Appreciate your guys' support, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.